This episode of the Right and Wrong podcast is sponsored by Ingram Spark. Stay tuned to hear more and enjoy the episode.
Ooh, a spicy question. I
because
love it.
the writing is sort of everything, right? Like you kind of can fix plot holes, but if the writing isn't
so some
there,
readers love that, and some readers are like, "But I wanted more of this." So it's kind of a gamble.
Hello and welcome back to the Right and Wrong podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by an indie picture book author and illustrator whose debut cozy mystery novel comes out very soon. It's Carmela Dutra. Hello.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thanks so much for coming on. Let's jump right in and talk about your upcoming novel, A Murder Most Foul, comes out September 9th in the UK and the US. Tell us a little bit about it.
This is my debut cozy mystery novel, and it's set about paternal twins, Beth and Seth Lloyd, who inherit their late aunt's chicken-themed food truck. And Beth gets the brilliant idea to enter their truck into a food truck reality show cooking competition. And the competition takes a deadly turn when one of the contestants is found dead in the back of his truck. So the twins have to sleuth their way through the breadcrumbs to find out what's really going on behind the scenes of this reality TV show before one of them ends up on the chopping block.
Sounds good. I'm very much enjoying the current sort of enthusiasm towards cozy crime as a genre, and I love the addition of food as a big theme into it. I know that you used to do picture books and stuff. So where did this novel come from? What was the inspiration?
I actually always wanted to write something more than just 1,000-word picture book. But at the time, I never really thought that I had enough creativity to do something that large. And I think it kind of just fell into that area where most people during the pandemic, we had a lot of free time. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just do something else. And I wrote a horrible sci-fi novel. And I don't know why I wrote sci-fi, because I don't even really typically read too much sci-fi. But I did that, and it ended up giving me the creative freedom, the permission, so to speak, to be able to do this. Like, okay, I can do this. I can write this. And I queried that novel to agents. I had a handful of agents do a full request for it, but they all came back with the same response. There was too much comedy in my sci-fi book, and there was also already mystery that I was weaving into it. So I had about 3 agents suggest maybe I consider trying my hand at cozy mysteries, since I already kind of was leaning that way within the sci-fi world, and what I had wouldn't market towards sci-fi. And it was like a light bulb moment, because that's what I read. 80% of my bookshelf is mystery and cozy mystery. So I'm like, yeah, let's just do that. Let me just write a cozy mystery. And the twin element and the chicken element came from a phone call with my grandmother, because she was an identical twin. And she was calling me to complain about her sister and one of their recent ridiculous arguments that they were having. And I was at a chicken restaurant when I got the phone call. So afterwards, when I hung up, my husband was like, what was that all about? I go, you know what grandma is like. And so I told him the story, and he's like, oh, you should write something about that. And I'm like, no, if I do that, then they're going to kill each other. And then I was like, oh, hey, this could work. And that's how it all kind of came together at that point.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought, when you hear the synopsis, you wouldn't expect it to be based loosely on sort of true events, true inspiration.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. But I mean, that is what a lot of it comes back to. I mean, that is what so many authors do say. A lot of stuff gets influenced by their daily life. Mm-hmm. And that is, I have found to be true. Especially my main characters. They are loosely based off my grandmother, who was an identical twin. Unfortunately, they have both since passed away. But I took a lot of what I saw growing up, and twins run in my family and twins run in my husband's family. So I took a lot of those elements from the different twins around us and their constant bickering and the way that they love each other so much, but they also they just want to kill each other at the same time, because they're always together. And I'm like, that works so well for my characters. And it did. So it just naturally weaved its way into my story and helped with the comic relief in the more serious areas.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. And it's good to have something relatable that you can touch on as inspiration. I'd love to talk about you said the sci-fi that you wrote before this, and that was, you suddenly had the free time in lockdown. Lots of people did. Was that the first time you'd ever written a novel, that sci-fi?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of scary, a little overwhelming, but it was a lot of fun. Once I finally got past that hump of okay, this is too much. I can't do it. And then I was like, no, wait, I can do this. I can keep going. So it was my first, and it was also pretty bad, but it's okay. It's what got me there.
Yeah, I think I've said this many times. It's like for a lot of authors, the way that you really learn how to write a novel is to write one first, and then that's kind of the teething process for learning how to do it.
Yeah, and I even learned so much, even with this, my debut that's coming out, what I originally queried to agents and what I signed with my literary agent is like a complete 180. She taught me so much, how to plot and how to build a story structure and how to make sure that I'm hitting all of those points and getting those red herrings in. And I'm still learning as I go on. I just finished book 2 in the series, and my editor is still teaching me stuff. And this is going to be an ongoing process. Each time I'm going to learn something different and take away something else that's going to help improve my craft.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you keep practicing at it and you keep getting better and better. I think no matter how much you've written or how many stories have been published. In terms of agents, you said you queried. Was it a long querying process, or did it happen quite fast?
I spent about 3 years. So I started with my sci-fi novel. And that was also, I was still writing picture books at the same time. So I had a recommendation from a friend who was signed with an agent that she put in for me. So I sent her my picture book, and then I queried my sci-fi. Overall, between starting with around my sci-fi until I signed with my current agent, Lindsay, it was 3 years. And this particular manuscript, I faced 197 rejections.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I was very close to shelving it. I was at that point where I was like, I don't know who else I can query. And I was also, through the process, I learned a lot about, just because an agent represents mystery doesn't mean they represent all the different categories within mystery, because it's such a large umbrella. And like you had even mentioned about the food element, yeah, cozy culinary mysteries are a huge thing. And not all agents represent culinary cozies, which is what I write.
Right.
But yeah, the agent that I have, she's amazing. And I didn't even realize that I was going to end up with her, because at the time when I queried her, I used Query Tracker. That was one of the sites that I used. It actually closed out my query after 120 days. So I had queried her in October of 22. And then I got a reply from her in June of 23 asking for the full request. And that's what started our relationship there.
Okay. So almost 200 rejections over 3 years, quite a long period of time. Were you constantly kind of tweaking and changing the cover letter and the manuscript as you were submitting it, or did you just lock it in and just were sending it?
Oh no, I was always adjusting it. There were times where I'm like, oh my gosh, take this away from me. So I stopped touching it. But I did take feedback that I was getting from agents. And that was something I was really fortunate to receive, was a lot of personalized feedback, which I know is not always common for authors when they're querying. So I did read each of those query letters. And then when I noticed that there was a repeating comment happening, I'm like, okay, I got to look at this. Something is happening and they're telling me something. So when I noticed that my pacing was too slow in this area, I started working on it. And I also had a handful of agents even edit parts of my manuscript to show me what was missing, to show me what needed to be adjusted, which was really helpful. And I'll always be thankful to them, because they helped me along the way to keep adjusting and to keep growing while I was trying to find my agent.
Yeah. To be honest, it's difficult querying, and it's different length of time for everyone. But I think people will be glad to hear that, like, you stuck at it, you persevered, and like you found your agent, and obviously now you found your publisher as well. Once you did sign with Lindsay, your agent, did things move quite quickly in terms of submissions and then finding your publisher, Crooked Lane Books, or was that also kind of another waiting period?
So after I signed with Lindsay, we spent almost a year having to completely restructure my novel. There was a lot that needed to be worked on, and I knew that going into it, and she was honest with me about that. We started talking in June, and she emailed me regularly to tell me how she felt about the manuscript, what needed to be adjusted. And so she ended up sending it back to me as a R&R, revision and resubmit, but she left that open-ended. I could take as much time as I needed. She wasn't going anywhere. So I did everything she asked. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is as good as I can get it on my own. I thanked her for the opportunity. And she replied back with, I think it was like 3 weeks. And she offered me representation, but she was upfront and told me it's going to need still a lot more work. We're going to need to fix a lot of things. And I was okay with it. I'm like, let's do it. So we spent almost a year because her goal was between the two of us. And my agent is a former senior literary editor. She used to work at Amazon Books. She worked at Penguin. She was all over the place. So she knew what she was doing. And she wanted to make sure that my book, when it got rejected from editors, because it will get rejected, that it was going to be simply because it just wasn't what they wanted, not because there was problems with story structure or anything with the writing. And that was the case. We went on submission, and I moved really quick on submission, but I do believe so much of that was due to all of the back end work that her and I did together, because we really reshaped that story from what it originally was.
Okay, so you were very open to the editing, to like hearing her opinion. Obviously, you know, like you said, she's got a very strong career in editorial and publishing. You were absolutely on board. There was no pushback against the editing.
The only thing that I've said from the beginning is, you can kill my darlings, take whoever you need, but do not take my giant chicken, because there is a giant chicken suit in my book, and it's key to my story, and that's how I've kind of ended up becoming known as this, you know, chicken author. But it works, and that's a big part of the mystery throughout the series is using that chicken suit. I know it sounds crazy, but it really does work. But her and I were on the same page. She's like, oh my God, no, I love that chicken. Nothing is happening to that chicken suit. And then my editor, same thing. When we had our meeting, I'm like, I don't care. Kill whoever we need to kill. And we did. We killed off 3 darlings before my book even got to the point of being published. And I'm like, just don't take my chicken suit. And she's like, that's okay. I don't want to take your chicken suit either. So that was my only thing, was like, take whoever you need. Just don't take my chicken suit.
That's where we draw the line. Okay.
That was it. Yeah.
If you're thinking about publishing your own novel, if you have a story that's ready to be shared with the world, then look no further than Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark offers everything you need to publish, promote, sell, and print your book. You'll be able to reach millions of readers worldwide with powerful tools created specifically for independent authors. And you can get started for free at ingramspark.com/learn more. This is, I think you mentioned you've finished the sequel now. This was a 2-book deal, yeah?
Yeah, this was a 2-book deal. That is an ongoing series, so there is the potential for more. I've already talked with my editor about that, so we'll see how things go after the release with book 1. So yeah, each book can be read as a standalone. They each get wrapped up in your pretty little bow, so there's no cliffhangers at the end of my books, but each one will also tie into the other. So if you read book 1 and you go to book 2, you're going to catch in book 2 references to book 1, but you don't have to read book 1 to start reading now book 2.
Okay, but presumably it doesn't work the other way around. If you read book 2 first and then book 1, there's not references to book
you
2.
Totally could. Yeah,
okay.
You totally, there's no references to book 2 and book 1. You totally could. I mean, I guess there kind of are some Easter eggs if you know what to look for. But one of my beta readers had not read book 1, but I used a new beta reader for book 2. And I warned her right up front, I'm like, you will get some references to book 1, and I don't know how that's going to affect you. And she's like, oh no, it's totally fine.
Okay.
And so she read she did the beta reading for book 2. No issues. And now she's come back and she's read book 1, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, this is so fun. I see how it ties together. But she also admitted that she didn't need to read book 1 to read book 2, that for her it didn't make a difference.
Okay, great. That's exactly what you were going for as well. So that's good to hear. A lot of authors find a sort of particular and unique challenge with writing the second book on a deal, or like the second book on contract. Did you find it especially difficult to write the second book, or just kind of different in the way that it was difficult to writing the first book?
No, it was actually a lot easier for me, simply because at this point I had a very good understanding of plotting. So when I wrote book 1, I didn't plot very well. I was much more on the Panstein side. And I just, when I was first doing it, I was like, it's a mystery. Anybody could be the killer. I'm going to find out when the reader finds out. And that really did not work at all. But using that very structured style of plotting, and I embraced it fully to like the furthest degree, to where it almost looks like a mini manuscript when I'm done plotting. It helped me move really quickly. And I already kind of had a rough outline. That was something my agent and I talked about, like, where do I see the series going? What are my ideas for the next 6 books? So all of that's kind of already roughly mapped out. So that helped me to be able to just jump right in and get going.
Okay, cool. I want to talk more about your process and stuff a bit later on. But before we get to the desert island, I wanted to dial it back a bit. And I'd love to hear the story about how you got into picture books and what kind of led you to start indie publishing your own picture books.
So that it was originally as a gift for my niece and nephew. And that was also me being a totally lazy aunt, because my nephew wanted me to draw pictures for him because I did illustrate, and my niece wanted me to write a story for her. And I'm like, I'm not going to do both of these things separately. I'm like, I don't have time for that. You guys are getting a book. And so that's what I did for both of them. So I did that simply just like for the love of my niece and nephew. I had no intentions of anything happening with any of my books. And it was, family being supportive. Oh my gosh, you should publish this. You should do something with this. You should do more with this. I didn't have that desire. I wrote another book for my niece and nephew, still didn't really have a desire. And it was my husband who decided I needed to try to publish my books. So he sent query letters out on my behalf. And this was back when you still typed them and put them in the mail and waited 6 weeks with a self-returned envelope. And I started getting rejections, and I'm like, why am I getting rejections? I don't even know who these people are. Why are people rejecting me? And then that was when I found out. He's like, oh yeah, I sent some query letters out for you.
Oh.
So then it was like, okay, well, what did you say? Which was really like, it was so sweet. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was like the most, to say supportive is even an understatement, because that's how much he believed in my writing. So I did end up embracing it. I queried with my picture books, and I did end up with a small independent publishing house out where I'm in California. So out in our state capital, there was an individual who had a publishing house out there that I ended up with for a while, and things were pretty good. Things were all right. Due to differences later on, we ended up parting ways, and that publishing house ended up going out of business. And at that point, I had just started a new picture book series that was working specifically with schools. It was a STEM picture book about a little girl and her puppy who went to the moon. And it was imagination meets facts. So it was a blend of the two. And I used it a lot in schools, to specifically with, 3rd grade, because that's here when they were learning a lot about the moon. So I was working exclusively with school districts, coming in, doing author workshops, reading my book, teaching children the basics of picture book structure, how to, draw your characters, what goes into the elements of a story. And the teachers would use it as part of their curriculum because it did meet the Common Core standards. So I ended up doing 2 books in the Little Katie series. And I had plans for more, but that's when pandemic happened and all schools shut down. And we tried to do a couple of online visits, and it wasn't the same interaction for the kids. And then afterwards, the state funding that the school districts had been using to bring me in for these workshops wasn't there anymore. And at that point too, I'd also transitioned into the adult market, which is something that in my heart of hearts, I always wanted to do, was write an adult novel.
Obviously you're having a great time with your cozy mysteries at the moment, and you've got, the first one's about to come out, the second one will be soon to follow, I have no doubt. Do you have any desire maybe at some point down the road to get back into doing some picture books?
Possibly. That door's not closed. I'm never going to fully close a door to anything like that. That was one of my happiest moments, was working in the schools with the kids and being there. I actually was a professional wedding photographer for 10 years before I started working in the school districts. And I ended up closing that business down to focus only in the schools because that's how much I enjoyed it. And it was also, that ended up becoming my new job, and it was great. And I also have 2 boys, and they're always asking me to write a story for them about dinosaurs and time travel. So I'm sure that that's possible. That's somewhere on my horizon there.
Okay. You mean they don't want to hear a story about a cozy mystery involving food trucks?
Actually, my 9-year-old, he's about to turn 10. He did ask me if he could read it. So he does have one of my advanced copies. And so I told him, like, you can read it. I said, it's about, it's PG-13. I said, once you get to a couple of the areas that might be scary for you, I'll tell you to flip those pages and I'll help you there. But there's nothing graphic on the page, so it'll be okay.
Okay.
Now, whether or not he's going to have the focus to actually read something that long compared to what he typically reads, that remains to be seen. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll cross that bridge when you come to it.
Yeah.
We are at the point in the episode where I pack up your things and ship you off and ask you, Carmela, if you were stranded on a desert island with a single book, which book do you hope that it would be?
The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, and I know that I said that I don't read much sci-fi. That is one of my favorite books. And I also believe that would be able to maybe help me get off my stranded island.
Okay. I mean, it's a great book, and it almost is like a sort of how-to guide on being able to grow your own herbs and foods to eat.
Yeah. So, maybe I'd be able to glean some information there and figure out what I can do, how I can contact civilization. In the meantime, what I can do to take care of myself. And, well, if not, at least it's an entertaining read for me. It
is, yeah. Great choice. You've kind of got the best of both worlds. A fun, exciting read whilst also, a bit of do-it-yourself survival kind of stuff. Cool. Very cool. Next up, we are going to talk a bit more about the writing process. We're going to go a bit more in depth in that. We're going to talk about evolving as a writer. That will all be in the extended episode available on patreon.com/rightandwrong.
And if you ever need, anyone listening to this, ever need somebody to vent to or talk to about querying or being on submission, my DMs online are always open. You can send me a message through my website. I will listen. I will eat ice cream with you. You can vent, you can cry, whatever you need to say. No judgment from me.
Oh, well, if there's ice cream involved, you should have led with that.
I should have led with ice cream. What about popcorn? I should leave with popcorn too.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's great advice. I mean, sometimes hard to listen to, like hard to hear the truth sometimes, but yeah, you've got to be realistic about this industry. It's like you said, the ones where you hear like they got, their first query letter, they got picked up, and then the founder publisher within a week. It's the unicorn. It's the one in a billion. It's, it does happen, but you're reading about it on the internet because it's so rare that's happened. Yeah. That's why you're reading about it. It's not the common way. But that's great and great advice. And that brings us to the end of the episode. So thank you so much, Carmela, for coming on and telling us all about your writing and your publishing and your writing journey. It's been really, really cool and fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great time.
And for anyone listening, A Murder Most Foul is out on the 9th of September in the UK and the US. You'll be able to find it in all the usual places. And if you want to keep up with what Carmela is doing, you can find her on Twitter and Instagram at Author Carmela, on Facebook at Author Carmela Dutra. And to support this podcast, like, follow, and subscribe. Join the Patreon for ad-free extended episodes and check out my other podcast, The Chosen Ones and Other Tropes. Thanks again, Carmela, and thanks to everyone listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Shout out time. One of my amazing patrons, Lee Foxton, is querying their debut novel. It's a family drama, commercial fiction along the lines of Jojo Moyes and David Nichols. Fingers crossed, I am rooting for you. Good luck.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.